Hello, students. Students, yesterday, day before yesterday, I had given you a complete introduction of the novel, The Time Machine. We had discussed the major characters, the minor characters, the setting of the novel, and so on. Today, we're going to concentrate on what happened um, in chapter 1. This is very important, because these are the chapters. Chapter 1 and 2 are the chapters where um, you get an idea, the story begins and how, and you get an idea about um, what the time machine is all about, and you get to know the theory behind the time machine, and also a description of the time machine, and a first glimpse into the functioning, how it works and all. So this is a very interesting picture I found. This is from the movie, and this is where, this is the time traveler. Here is the narrator, and these people are in the time traveler's house, and all of them are looking at the miniature version of the time machine. So let's go ahead. First we read the summary, and then we'll come to the analysis. So the book opens on the narrator at a dinner party of well-educated upper-class professionals and specialists, including his friend, an eminent scientist whom he calls the time traveler. The time traveler in this chapter is describing to his guests principles of science and math, including the notion that time or duration is a traversable dimension just like length or width. So, in this chapter, the time traveler says that how we can um, travel in space, um, as far as the length or width is concerned. Time is also a dimension, and we can traverse through time also. Now, people say, how is it possible? Okay, now um, they are discussing it with excitement, and they're doubtful also. Okay, and the time traveler tells them that since we are moving ahead with time, we do not notice that the time is also moving ahead, because we are moving like in the same direction. That is why we don't seem to notice the dimension of time. But he says that you can traverse through it, and he explains the theory. And when he says that I have actually created a machine which can travel in time, so the guests are very, doubtful of it. Now, the time traveler at this point of time goes to his laboratory, and he comes back with a small model of a time machine made of metal and ivory. The group of dinner guests examines it to be sure it's not a trick, and the time traveler points out that one of the bars is glimmering as though it is only partially there. And then he points to a lever and says that when he presses it, the machine will disappear into the future. A skeptical guest insists that you know, I will press the lever myself. And when he does that, the machine disappears. The only person who's not stunned by this event is the time traveler. let's look at this time machine, the miniature version. Just after this, one of the guests is going to press the lever here, and the time machine is going to disappear. Now, the time traveler then reveals that he has nearly finished building a life-size version of the model in his laboratory, and that it will allow him to make his own voyage in time. And then he says that using that machine, I'm going to make my voyage. Now, the time traveler was known for playing practical jokes on his friends. So that is why, they think that it's trickery, maybe. The time machine is just an illusion or something. So he leads all of them, the still skeptical guests, to his laboratory, where they observe a larger version of the machine that has just disappeared. And despite the machine parts, the blueprints, and the spectacle that they have just witnessed, the disappearing of the miniature version of the time machine, the guests still seem not to believe the time traveler, who swears that he has never been more serious about anything in his life. Okay, so they are here in the smoking room, and they're all discussing it. So now we come to the analysis part. Now, the opening of the novel introduces scientific and mathematical concepts. Okay, now here we have to um, remember that we do not have to be overwhelmed by all this explanation that is given over there, because they don't really add up. Don't try to understand it, but just take it as a theory given by someone, and you're not never going to be tested in that theory. All right. So the theories themselves, the concepts, will not ever add up to explain how time travel is possible, but they're just giving us a taste of the complexity of the concept, that it's not an easy concept to be grasped by just anyone. It is very difficult to understand this. It is beyond the comprehension and understanding of a layman, and it also gives us an idea how intelligent and knowledgeable the time traveler is. So, because of this, we get to trust, you know, his capabilities, and we start believing that whatever he is saying may be possible. Now, by highlighting the intellect and ambition of the time traveler, Wells is H.G. Wells. He is the writer of the novel. Wells is deliberately setting up a contrast, and to whom is he drawing a contrast? He is drawing a contrast to the human-like species of the future who have degenerated almost past recognition. It is, the in future when we move ahead in the novel, and the time traveler takes us way, way, into the future, lakhs of years beyond. The people who are here in the time traveler's house discussing these complex um, theories and concepts, they are just the opposite of what we'll find man to be in future. Man is going to be near about, you know, like an animal. The two subspecies, as I told you the other day, that will come out of the humans, they're going to be very, very different from the present day man. So it's important to note too the social class of the assembled guests. The social class, as you will see, that somebody is a journalist, somebody is a scientist, a mathematician, editor, and so on. So the social class is also important to note here. The time traveler is an important scientist. So he is wealthy, he is successful, and he is well educated. And so obviously his guests are also, experts, specialists in their own field, the best in their fields. This shows, the time traveler in the class related violence that the book will soon explore. Now, uh, as I told you, the upper class people turned into the Elois, okay, and the lower class who were driven to live underground by the Elois, the Morlocks. Okay, now this this gentry that is gathered in the time traveler's house, they are showing how this class conflict has come up. Okay, now here Wells imagines a scenario that could begin to overcome an educated person's doubts about time travel. Okay, this means that we may have our doubts, but after coming this far and reading um, this chapter 1, we may start believing that time travel is possible. Now, this underscores means underlines that the time traveler's guests are educated and skeptical. But it also is a rhetorical device to allow the reader to suspend his or her own disbelief. And how do we do that? You know, see, the authors are very, very smart. By all these people who are somehow against the time traveler, who is talking of something that we we all would like to experiment with. None of us would say no, 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 I don't want to go into the past or change this or go into the future and see how things will turn out. Everyone wants that. So the time traveler has our attention. Now when the other people start questioning him, that helps us to strengthen our belief in the time traveler. Okay, in addition, the notion of testing a model time machine in public resonates with the time traveler's consistent commitment to the scientific process. This testing that takes place, it strengthens our belief that the time traveler is not talking about something that is nonsensical or something that he has not tried on his own earlier. So we get an idea that the time traveler is trustworthy because he has proof. Okay. He's always testing his ideas and then readjusting them to fit what happens, just like just like the scientific method. So that in, increases our faith in the time traveler and his project. Because he has tested his ideas, we believe him. Even though a reader is not likely to believe in the possibility of time travel, Wells' choice to have dinner guests remains skeptical of the endeavor encourages to have the dinner guests remain skeptical of the endeavor encourages readers to be on the time traveler side. Now, what happens is because these people do not readily believe in what the time traveler is saying, it makes the readers want to be on the time traveler's side. And until and unless we believed in the story, we would not proceed with the reading of the story. We would not be emotionally involved in the book, which is very important for the success of any book. Okay. Now, it's also notable here that the time traveler is not very concerned that his guests don't believe him. You know, he is somehow he was anticipating that the guests will not believe him. But then, as a scientist, that's not his job. Okay, if you don't believe him or if you are not convinced, he is not bothered. He has the proof and he wants to show them a proof. And he says that very soon I'm going to give you a proof of my time travel. So with this, we come to the end of chapter 1, where we have met all the minor characters. We have met the time traveler, we have met the narrator, and we have also had a glimpse of the time machine. So, with this, we come to the end of chapter 1. Please go through this reading again, go through the video that I had shared previously about the the story, okay, the characters, etc., the setting, and I hope um, you will enjoy reading this. Okay, and if possible, if you're interested in reading, you can download some or the other version of the novel and you can read it. All right. Okay. With this, I'll take your leave, students. Goodbye.